not knowing who's really there. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's someone, and welcome back to the third report for Deliriant week this year. Today's report was sent in by Smidge. When this happened, November 2019, the drugs used were Dextromethorphan, Diphenhydramine, and Hydroxyzine at a dose of 710 milligrams of Dextromethorphan polisterix, 75 milligrams Hydroxyzine, and 375 milligrams of diphenhydramine. The route of administration, orally, gender, male, age, 16, prior experience includes shrooms, weed, and alcohol, and the setting is at home in his room. So Smidge sent in this report detailing a time he somewhat compulsively tried DXM and DPH together, with the hydroxyzine acting as a potentiator. The effects he experienced, I think, go far beyond what he was looking for his first time, as he experienced a variety of visual and auditory hallucinations, commonly seeing and talking to people close to him and then seeing them vanish. Among that, he has a very stressful physical response while handling the combination. Specifically, there's a lot of stress on the heart coupled with dehydration. But this story is filled with some scary themes as well, making it fitting for the Halloween season. So, without further ado, let's dive right into this. This is a report of a trip I did about a month ago. I'm a 16-year-old with mostly minor substance experiences, just shrooms, weed, and alcohol. My parents take drug use very seriously, and eventually I got caught smoking weed for the first time ever, which they took very personally, and I knew I was screwed. I knew I would be tested soon, and I couldn't smoke, so I started looking for other easy ways to get high. I found an old prescription for hydroxyzine in our medicine cabinet and took 200 milligrams, but it just made me pass out for 12 hours. I researched it, and it said it can make a high more intense, so I knew I needed to mix it with something. I had heard about DXM robo-tripping from my older brother, but I knew it would be risky because effects last up to days, and when he did it, my mom got suspicious the next day and surprise tested him, so I needed a plan. I had also heard of Benadryl or DPH tripping from my friend Carter. He described it as intense realistic hallucinations, which interested me, but I was more focused on the DXM. Anyways, I got to the store and got 2 3-ounce bottles of Delsum cough syrup and a 24-pack of Benadryl while I was at it. I tried 2 ounces of Delsum but felt nothing. Disappointed, I waited until the next weekend. I told my mom I was sick so that she wouldn't bug me, and I stashed plenty of food and water in my room so I could stay as long as I needed depending on how long the high lasted. It was the perfect chance to try it because my dad was out of town as he would be more likely to bug me. I started off the night with a remaining 4 ounces of Delsum, which translates to 710 milligrams of DXM. I took it at 7 and impatiently waited to feel the effects. I watched Step Brothers on my phone, in bed, until around 8. That's when I realized I was feeling the DXM. The show was getting confusing. I couldn't understand anything, and it was hard to focus on the screen. I got annoyed and shut it off. At this point, I wish I left it at that and just enjoyed the high, but I had a sudden urge to get higher. I took 5 Benadryl, 125 milligrams, and waited. My vision was getting very fuzzy, and my room started to look foreign to me. At around 9 that night, I didn't think I took enough, but I had taken all the drugs I had brought with me, so I walked to the kitchen medicine cabinet on the opposite side of the house, which was stupid. I had already broken my only rule, which was not to leave my room. It was hard to walk on the DXM, and if my mom were to have walked out, I definitely would have been caught. I took 10 more Benadryl, which totaled 375 milligrams, and I took 3 hydroxyzine, or 75 milligrams, for good measure. Feeling satisfied, I got back to my room and waited for my own personal hell. At around 10, I texted my girlfriend. I told her what I had done. She was annoyed because I told her I would only do the Delsum, but it was too late now. I have our text messages saved because after a few minutes, I realized I was typing gibberish. All the letters on my phone were blended together, and I couldn't read. She got concerned and called me. It was around 11, and I was talking very loudly. She told me to calm down, but my heart was racing very fast. This was by far the worst part of the trip. I didn't know this was a side effect, so I thought I had overdosed. My body kept getting hotter and hotter with no way to cool down, and my heart felt like it was going to explode. I wasn't ready to turn myself in, but I told her to call the cops if it got too bad. I shouldn't have attempted it when my brother was out of town. It was only me and my mom home. I will give you my girlfriend's perspective briefly. We called 3 times. The first time I was breathing very loud, and my talking was fast and panicked. I have a large poster of King Kong above my bed, and at a point, I whispered to her, "Can you please make the demons in my poster go away?" Although, I don't remember what I saw at that moment. I told her about the spiders on my floor and in the corners of my ceiling, which she calmed me down by reminding me I was high and they weren't real. I told her that my dogs kept barking, which I don't think they were. Suddenly, I panicked and shouted, "I have to go. My mom is outside my window," and hung up on her. It was past 11, and I know she wasn't there, but I saw her outline through my curtains. My heart kept violently pounding, and I was able to take deep breaths and calm down. I turned my light off and tried to fall asleep, when, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure. I had recently seen the movie Hereditary. I don't enjoy horror movies, but I found that movie terrifying to me, and there was a part near the end where, spoiler alert, and I'll put a timestamp just in case you don't want to be spoiled at all. The mom gets possessed and hides in the corner of the ceiling. I saw her vividly as she grinned at me, and I was terrified, but when I turned the light on, she was gone. I tried looking around the room again to get a better sense of what was real. Everything was shaking slightly and simmering as if it was boiling. All of a sudden, my room was filled with a clear, thick syrup instead of air. I was surprised I could breathe, but I remembered it was a hallucination. But as I focused on different points on my walls, the syrup would swirl slowly toward me, and I kept having to look away to stop it. But it kept approaching me from all directions. It was making me very anxious, so I called my girlfriend again, but almost immediately hung up. Once again, paranoid that my mom was going to catch me. This time, I had a terrifying hallucination of my mom glaring at me through my window. I turned off the light, scared that she would see me. My dog came into my room and sat on the floor in the dark. I saw his outline and felt comforted by him, so I reached out to pet him, but he turned into a brown paper bag in my room, and I realized my door was shut and he had never been there. Luckily, I completely lost touch of reality after that. Apparently, I called my girlfriend a 3rd time and was completely calm. I told her I was fine and said goodnight, but I have no memory of doing this. Apparently, I sounded annoyed and hung up very quickly. I had already reached complete delirium, although I don't know when the call was, probably much later, like around 2. Anyways, it was past midnight, and I turned off the lights and let the hallucinations take over. I forgot I had taken drugs and thought my girlfriend was sitting next to me, and that I had a long conversation with her, although I can't remember what it was about. Finally, I reached for her arm, and she vanished. The way hallucinations vanish is strange. They disappear so fast that you realize they were never there. I remember feeling very betrayed and alone, more than ever in my life, because she was there, and I was talking to her, and then she was gone, and I realized I had just been murmuring to myself in the dark like a crazy person. This repeated with my older brother, who I saw in a chair in my room. We talked for a while, and he too disappeared, leaving me with an overwhelming feeling of isolation. Luckily, the despair didn't last long, because more and more people came to me. A black cat ran around the corners of my room, and I remember wondering how it got in. Voices kept whispering in my head, but I can't remember what they were saying. I grabbed my phone and tried to use it, but the screen was still too blurry, and I couldn't read or even unlock it. I looked up to see more animals in my room, Their dark outlines moved around my room, and they were very loud. It was like a jungle. Like I said, I was too delirious to determine that they weren't real, but I didn't react at all to them being there. So I just nonchalantly looked back at my phone, but when I looked down, it was gone. This happens a couple times. I grab my phone, get distracted, and realize that it's not there. Finally, I give up because I was frustrated not knowing where the real phone is and got too tired to look for it. So I tried to fall asleep for real. I don't remember anything after this except for seeing various shadow people in my room. I likely fell asleep around 2 or 3. When I woke up, I was in agony. My heart was beating so fast that I could barely breathe. I thought I was fully sober, but I remember looking at the ceiling and seeing it change purple. It was just nothing compared to last night. In fact, 2 days later, I did an eighth of shrooms and felt very sick and terrified thinking about Friday. I was also surprised to be underwhelmed by the shrooms' effects, which I had always found so intense in the past, but it didn't compare to Friday night. Anyways, I called my girlfriend to let her know I was okay. I felt terrible for letting her worry that much. It wasn't fair to put her through that, but my heart wouldn't stop rapidly pounding, and I started to think I was going to die, which is indescribable to feel that confident in your own painful death. I considered telling my mom. I knew they would never trust me again, but it would be worth saving my life. Then I realized how thirsty I was. I started drinking water, and I drank at least a gallon before my heart started to calm down and my temperature lowered. Finally, I knew it was over. I wouldn't recommend that for anyone, although I went into it blindly. I understand the morbid curiosity to try it, because I probably would be curious enough to do it again if it wasn't for the physical pain and increased heart rate. Happy to say I learned from my mistake and haven't done any drugs since the shrooms. I don't plan to for a while. I realized that it wasn't fair to put myself at risk because I'm not the only one it's affecting. It wasn't fair to put my girlfriend through that, and if I were to have gotten hurt, it would have affected a lot more people than that. So I got very lucky. If you are thinking of trying it, I would recommend having a sitter, especially knowing that you don't know how it will affect you, because 375 milligrams is a relatively small amount, but I'm not very big and I didn't take that into account. And finally, don't up the dosage just because you're not feeling it. I would go as far as to have your sitter hide them, because for some people, once you start feeling the effects of drugs, you have a desire to see how far you can go. It's a dangerous mindset, and that's why I have refrained from drugs indefinitely.